When you think of breakfast, few things are as comforting as the smell of freshly toasted English muffins. Golden on the outside, soft and airy on the inside, and perfectly designed to hold melted butter or jam in those signature nooks and crannies. But have you ever stopped to wonder where English muffins actually came from? Are they really English? And how did they become a breakfast staple around the world, especially in the United States? Today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating history of the English muffin, a humble bread that became a global breakfast icon. Let's explore right here on History of Simple Things. The story begins in 19th century England, where the concept of the English muffin first took shape. At the time, the British working class relied on affordable, filling foods that could be made quickly and paired easily with tea or a simple meal. Bread was, of course, a dietary staple, but not everyone could afford fresh loaves from a bakery every day. Street vendors, often known as muffin men, began selling small, round, griddle-baked breads door to door. These early versions of English muffins weren't baked in an oven like regular bread, but cooked on a hot griddle, which gave them their signature texture, a crisp exterior and a soft, chewy interior. They were usually eaten warm, split open, and topped with butter or jam. The sound of the Muffin Man's bell became a familiar tune in English neighborhoods, signaling the arrival of fresh muffins. Interestingly, the English muffin has little to do with what Americans today simply call muffins. In England, the term muffin originally referred to a type of yeast-leavened flatbread cooked on a griddle, while the American muffin, what we recognize as a sweet cupcake-like treat, came much later. So when people talk about English muffins, they're referring to a very specific kind of bread that originated in Britain. In fact, the traditional English muffin shares more in common with crumpets than with American muffins, though the two are distinct in their own right. Crumpets are made with a looser batter that gives them a spongier texture and open holes on top, while English muffins are made from a firmer dough that's split before toasting. Now here's where the story gets interesting. Despite their name, the English muffin as we know it today owes much of its fame not to England, but to the United States. In the late 1800s, an English immigrant named Samuel Bath Thomas moved to New York City. Thomas had a background in baking and brought with him a traditional recipe for what he called toaster crumpets. He opened a small bakery in Manhattan in 1880 and began selling these round, griddle-cooked breads to local customers. They quickly became popular because of their unique texture. They toasted beautifully and paired well with butter, eggs, and meats. Thomas later began calling them English muffins, a clever marketing move that gave his product an air of authenticity and nostalgia for British customers, while appealing to Americans who wanted something different from ordinary bread. By the early 1900s, Thomas's English muffins had become a commercial success. He built a larger bakery and even patented the term English muffin. The famous Nooks and Crannies slogan, still used by the Thomas's brand today, became part of its marketing identity. It referred to the tiny holes and pockets that form inside the muffin as it's cooked on the griddle, perfect for catching melted butter or jam. For many Americans, this was the first time they encountered anything like it. What had started as a humble street food in Victorian England was now a breakfast staple in the modern American kitchen. Interestingly, while English muffins took off in the US, they remained somewhat obscure in their homeland. In the United Kingdom, crumpets were still far more popular, and the term English muffin wasn't commonly used. In fact, It wasn't until global fast food chains and international travel brought American breakfast culture abroad that English muffins gained more recognition in Britain. It's one of those rare cases where an English invention had to travel across the Atlantic before being appreciated back home. As breakfast trends evolved, the English muffin adapted effortlessly. In the mid-20th century, when frozen and prepackaged foods became popular, manufacturers began selling English muffins in grocery stores, ready to be split and toasted at home. The rise of fast food breakfast menus, particularly the introduction of McDonald's Egg McMuffin in the 1970s, gave English muffins an even larger audience. The Egg McMuffin, a simple combination of egg, cheese, and Canadian bacon sandwiched between two halves of a toasted English muffin, became an instant hit and is still a breakfast favorite today. It helped solidify the muffin's place, not just in home kitchens, but also in the fast-paced, on-the-go lifestyle of modern America. Today, English muffins are enjoyed all over the world. They've evolved from a humble griddle bread to a symbol of comforting mornings and cozy breakfasts. Artisan bakers experiment with whole grain, sourdough, and even gluten-free versions, while traditionalists still swear by the classic recipe. What's fascinating is that even after more than a century, the core appeal of the English muffin remains the same. Simple ingredients, a unique texture, and an unmatched ability to turn ordinary breakfasts into something special. So the next time you slice open a warm English muffin and watch butter melt into those perfect little nooks and crannies, remember that you're not just eating a piece of bread, you're tasting history. A story that began with Victorian street vendors was reinvented by an English immigrant in America and continues to bring people together around breakfast tables worldwide. From the streets of 19th century London to modern cafes and kitchens, the English muffin has proven that sometimes the simplest foods have the richest stories. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.